A shocking love spell. When a witch found a CEO on the verge of death at 3 a.m., the clock struck 3, shattering the silence of the night. In the dense fog wrapping the city like a sly thief, a chilling scream cut through the air. Barely noticeable amidst the city's chaos, a sharp breath hung in the darkness. It was a moment dripping with suspense, where time seemed to freeze. In this solitude, a witch named Isolde stood on the precipice of an unexpected encounter, her heart pounding like a hammer against iron as she wandered the narrow cobblestone streets. The smell of danger hung heavy along with the sense of damp earth and distant bonfires. Isolde had always felt a magnetic pull towards the unknown, a magnetism that drove her closer to the edge of the eerie realm surrounding her. But tonight, there was something distinctly off. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally, flitting like lost spirits in moonlight. And then she saw him, a figure sprawled on the cool pavement, pale as death itself. A CEO with tousled hair and a crisp suit, now splattered with rain and dirt, lay gasping, a fragile butterfly caught in a storm. His eyes fluttered like dying embers, flickering between life and nothingness. Isolde's heart tightened, she could feel the raw pulse of his pain from several feet away. Suddenly, a gust of wind tugged at her cloak, sending a shiver down her spine. She barely knew why she was here, but an ancient magic tingled in the air, wrapping around her like a silk thread. Stepping closer, she knelt beside him, her trembling hands grasping his. The world around them seemed to hold its breath as she whispered an incantation, her voice barely above a whisper, a chance, a gamble. Then, the ground trembled. Colors surged and flared in the dismal night like fireworks, dark clouds swirling, silhouettes were screaming as if reacting to the chaos. What had she unleashed? Fear gripped her throat, but there was no turning back. As his breathing steadied, an electric shock shot through her, her heart racing like a runaway train. Had she just brought him back from the brink? Or was there more at stake? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Isolde looked down at the CEO, something flickered in his eyes, a spark of awareness. But it wasn't just gratitude, it was a storm of emotions swirling together, confusion, fear, and was that desire? Her heart raced again, but confusion clung to the air like a fog. What would happen if he unlocked the secrets buried in his mind? Did she just bind their fates together with her spell? The wind howled, shadows danced. Was this the beginning of a love born from dark magic? Or was it a curse waiting to unravel? The questions loomed, and silence engulfed them once more. What lay ahead? The answer drifted just out of reach as the clock ticked deeper into the night. As the energy crackled between them, a tremor coursed through Isolde's body, resonating with the rebirth she had just triggered. The quiet night warped around her, swirling with currents of energy, each pulse echoing the heartbeat of the man at her feet. His breath was deeper now, more stable. Still, a darkness lingered in his gaze. Was he truly back, or had she merely stirred the remnants of a lost soul? Who are you? His voice came out ragged, yet it held an undeniable intensity. The CEO blinked hard, and Isolde noticed flickers of confusion morphing into something much more personal. Isolde, she said, her voice steadying against the storm of emotions in her chest. You were in trouble. It felt like I was drowning, he murmured, directing his gaze at her with piercing intensity. The connection felt raw, potent, like a wound stitching itself in real time. But fear gripped her. It wasn't just his life she had to consider. Ancient law warned of magical consequences. Binding souls often came with heavy costs. As he braced himself on the pavement, recovering from the brink, the air around them thickened. The magic they had summoned twined tightly around their fates, whispering secrets of both promise and peril. A distant siren echoed through the fog, as if the city itself was trying to cut through the enchantment, pulling them back to harsh reality. What did you do to me? He asked, confusion weaving through his face like a dark cloud. He studied her, as if searching for hidden motives behind her spell. I gave you a chance, a second life, she replied, a lump forming in her throat. How could she explain the depths of her magic? It was reckless, and yet noble, a balance she had always tried to uphold. His expression shifted, curiosity flickering in place of suspicion. I don't remember anything, but I feel different. It's like I'm awake but still half asleep. There's more at play here, Isolde warned, her voice dropping to a whisper as a chill ran through her. You must tread carefully. I felt forces awaken during the spell, forces that shouldn't be disturbed. The wind howled again, a cacophony of shadows swirling violently overhead. Shadows morphed into figures, grotesque and twisted, tailing him. Isolde felt dread clenching in her gut. The chaos they had unleashed had no desire for rest. Just then, the CEO's eyes widened with recognition. Wait. That scream I heard before, was that me? A vulnerability surfaced in his demeanor, revealing how deeply he was wrestling with the layers of fear plaguing this unexpected resurrection. Yes, Isolde said, suddenly aware of the weight of his awakening. This could lead to either discovery or disaster, and she had started it all. You need to, she started, but he cut her off, the panic flashing in his features. Need to what? Accept whatever I've become. He struggled to get to his feet, the raw panic clawing at him, igniting the atmosphere around them. Shadows ricocheted, threatening to shroud them in their darkness. Not yet, she urged desperately. This isn't over. But before she could finish, a piercing scream sliced through the night, haunting and all too familiar. It echoed in her mind, a reminder of the forces she could not control. With that, his eyes locked onto hers, filled with determination. Then let us figure it out. Together. In that moment, an unspoken bond formed between them, but fate was far from sealed. The darkness was shifting, the spell merely a prologue. Isolde sensed it vibrating, waiting to unleash its true nature. As they reckoned with their uncertain future, a shadow loomed silently in the distance, something darker, something watching. The real question hung heavily in the air: what had Isolde awakened by breaking the barriers of life and death? And somewhere close, a figure lingered, poised to unravel their very existence. The shadows pulsated with an eerie life of their own, stretching and shifting as the night's air thickened with tension. Isolde felt the weight of her spell pressing down on her like a heavy shroud, the force of the world around them churning ominously. Isolde, the CEO's voice shattered through the chaos, sending a shiver down her spine. I can see them. His eyes darted nervously toward the encroaching darkness. For a split second, doubt clouded her judgment. What had she truly done? Her breath quickened, fear curling around her chest like a vice. What do you mean, see them? She asked, her voice trembling. The shadows. There's something waiting. He swallowed hard, his voice dropping to a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would break the fragile link of life she had bestowed upon him. It feels like they're looking at me, wanting something. Isolde felt a freezing fear creeping in, mingled with anger at her reckless decision. The magic had not just stirred him, it had also awakened something darker. Something that had lain dormant, perhaps for centuries. The howling wind grew fierce, spiraling around them like a tempest, whipping strands of hair across her face. She glanced at the shadows swirling around the CEO, their shapes twisting grotesquely, reaching toward him with claw-like fingers. We have to go, she urged, grasping his arm with frantic desperation as he staggered to stay upright. Yet he didn't move, his eyes locked in a trance on the shadows that danced before him. No. Isolde, I have to understand. I need to know. Understand what? You've barely returned. This is not the time. But he held his ground, a newfound defiance surging through him. We can't run from this. Not anymore. A thunderous crash echoed in the distance, causing a shiver to rack her body. Something was coming, something powerful and relentless. Suddenly, the oppressive shadows lurched forward, their cold fingers brushing against her skin. She flinched as a vision plunged into her mind. A memory that was not her own, the echoes of a past intertwined with loss and destruction. Isolde gasped as names hovered, just beyond reach, flickering like dying embers. Isolde. The CEO's voice broke through her reverie. What? She snapped, shaken by the abrupt intrusion of visions she didn't understand. We can use our link. The magic between us, we can channel it. We can fight it. An urge to flee clawed at her, but as she caught his determined gaze, a flicker of hope ignited a spark of something they could build on. Could they truly push back against the shadows? Together, remember, he pressed, squeezing her hand tightly as he stood steady before the encroaching darkness. Yes, together. The words left her mouth heavy with weight, the acceptance settling in her heart. As breathless silence enveloped them, the shadows surged forward, ready to surge into their lives. They had one chance, one moment to confront the unknown entwined with fear and fate. Isolde took a deep breath, weaving her energy around the both of them, a protective shield against the threat they faced. But just as the shadows struck, a flash of silvery light erupted from within, illuminating the night. Isolde felt the fierce energy burst, both bright and blinding, an unexpected force that quaked with untold power. A voice echoed through her mind, a command, firm and thunderous: release them. The words rattled her, sending shockwaves through her. As she strained against the intensity, she knew this was just the beginning. The forces they had unleashed would have their reckoning. What new truths and terrors awaited them in the ever-deepening night? The fate of their existence teetered precariously, and somewhere in that swirling chaos, another whisper emerged to bind or be bound. The decision loomed ahead, the shadows hungry for resolution. Would they confront the darkness together, or succumb to the ancient call of magic they had stirred? The brilliance of the silvery light enveloped them, flooding the haunting darkness with stark clarity. Isolde's heart raced as the shadows recoiled, twisting back into grotesque formations. She glimpsed fear palpable and raw in the CEO's eyes, but he stood his ground, urging her to push forward. Isolde, channel that energy. Focus. His voice sliced through the clamor, a lifeline in the storm. Nodding, she drew in a shaky breath, letting the warmth of magic pool in her core. She could feel it coursing through her veins, mingling with the cold tendrils of shadow that still lingered at the edges. It battled with her, a bitter thrumming that demanded submission. Together, we can summon it. His hand tightened around hers, grounding her amidst the chaos. As their linked energies surged, Isolde instinctively glanced behind them. The shadows coiled like serpents, their claws reaching and slashing at the glowing barrier they projected. They felt like liquid ice, slinking along her skin. A memory flickered in her mind, an echo of a stormy night long ago, words spoken in desperation, faces lost to time. Isolde. The shadows grow stronger. His panic broke her reverie. She focused, weaving tendrils of her magic into the shield. The glow intensified, illuminating the oppressive mass, chasing away their sinister whispers. But just as hope began to swell, the darkness pushed back, testing the strength of their bond. Those voices, they're angry, the CEO gasped, his voice trembling. What do they want from us? Isolde's heart plummeted. What if they were curators of their own demise? Questions spiraled like the clouds overhead, each one more harrowing than the last. I don't know. They crave something, but what? Focus on me, he shouted, defiance crackling in his tone. Feed them your magic. Draw it from your past. Don't let fear sway you. Bittersweet memories surged anew, shadows of her childhood dancing in her mind. Friends, laughter, but then darkness. Loss that bookend her life before she found solace in magic. She gasped at the vividness, tears welling as names veiled in sorrow pressed against her consciousness, but the shadows around them wouldn't let her go. They circled like vultures, tapping into her pain, feeding off her grief, threatening to devour the light they had ignited. Isolde. His voice cut in again, urgent and desperate. Are you with me? Yes, I'm here. I will not let them take me. She clenched her jaw, tears trailing down her cheeks as memories wove themselves into an explosion of power. Spectral tendrils unfurled, molding a vivid tapestry of both hope and loss. Amplified by their connection with every ounce of her being, she released it all into the luminous shield. The shadows screeched, reeling as the light blazed fiercer, momentarily blinding them. Isolde felt exhilaration swell within, intense and raw. I can feel their spite, Isolde. The CEO shouted, the ground trembling beneath them. What are we unlocking? I don't know. But we can't stop. Fear and exhilaration coiled together behind her ribs. The shadows faltered but did not retreat, inching closer, whispering sweet yet venomous lies. Isolde strained against their weight, both terrified and determined, her heart racing like wild horses. Then in the rift of chaos, a profound revelation struck her. A name loomed tall among the others like a beacon of despair, sharp as a dagger: Cyrus. As the name reverberated in her mind, shadows recoiled, misting her vision. "What have I done?" Isolde breathed, realization crashing over her. "Isolde." His voice shook her from the impending dread. "We're standing on the precipice. Do you trust me?" Tension hung thick, shadows and light battling for dominance. Dark strokes twined around them with malicious intent, and Isolde's chest tightened, suffocating under the weight of choice. Was this magic or despair? "Trust me and let us dive deeper." Her next decision echoed through her soul, as everything spiraled toward the brink. What secrets lived beneath the layer of shadows, pulsing with hidden truths? Would they emerge stronger or be consumed, bound to the darkness forever? The air thickened with anxiety, a tangible weight pressing against Isolde's chest. She felt the shimmering shield crackle with energy around them, a beacon in the engulfing dark. She dared to glance at the CEO, his face hardened by fear but illuminated by determination. They were teetering on the edge of chaos, caught between light and shadow, courage and despair. "Isolde, whatever happens next, stay with me," he urged, the rawness in his voice wrapping around her like a lifeline. "Okay," she managed, though doubt gnawed at her insides. The shadows hissed, reverberating deep in her bones. "Cyrus." The name echoed ominously, infusing the darkness with an unsettling pulse. What had she awakened? What power resided in that name, and why did it feel so personal? With each breath, the shadows lunged forward, snapping like ravenous beasts drawn to her magic. She felt their icy touch seep through the barrier, tugging at her heartache, whispering promises cloaked in betrayals. "You know him," they sang, a chorus of deceit, "he was never yours to lose." "Shut up," she screamed, pushing more energy into the shield, her voice trembling. But the shadows merely laughed, an echoing cacophony flooding her ears. Pain twisted her insides as memories bubbled to the surface: Cyrus's laughter, the warmth of his presence, the loss that shattered her world. "Feed them," the CEO bellowed, his eyes fierce with fiery resolve. "Your pain is also your strength." Isolde steeled herself, drawing from the depths of her sorrow. She gathered those memories like fragile glass, feeling their weight in her heart, each one more painful than the last. "I can do this." Power surged through her, a cyclone of emotions charging the haze. "Leave him alone," she bellowed, thrusting her energy outward, determined to protect the bond they forged. Tendrils of light streamed from her, illuminating the shadows, turning them to molten hues of despair, but the darkness retaliated, shrieking in rage. "You think this is just about you?" It writhed against her magic, pushing back with undeniable force. "The past never dies. It's always hiding, waiting for its moment to strike." Isolde gasped, her heart racing. Could it be true? Did Cyrus still hold a piece of her soul, a fractal left behind in their fractured history? The boundaries of her reality wavered as their connection intensified, melding with the shadows that sought to consume them both. "Isolde." His urgency pulled her from the shadow's hypnotic grip. "Your pain, it's a portal. Embrace it, don't resist." Emotions swirled chaotically as she let herself remember, not just the sweet corners of happiness but also the bitterness of their ending. Channeling her heartache and regret, she exhaled fiercely, releasing it into the luminescent barrier. Light burst forth, expanding and illuminating the darkened space even further. The shadows shrieked again, this time in terror, retreating from the radiance of her truth. Together she murmured, exchanging a glance with the CEO, an unspoken agreement knitting their intent. The moment hung like a taut string, ready to snap. Then, with every shred of her being, she directed her magic into one single wave. The ground shook violently beneath their feet as the shadows recoiled, wild and frenzied, revealing a hidden passage beneath them. "What have we uncovered?" the CEO gasped. "I don't know," Isolde shouted, the air vibrating with the weight of their unasked questions. "But we have to find out." Before she could say more, the shadows surged again, clawing at their heels, desperate to reclaim what they had lost. She felt a surge of fear, a rush of panic gripping her as the darkness consumed the space where the light had flickered just a heartbeat before. Isolde! He yelled as the ground began to tremble, threatening to swallow them whole. In that moment, with shadows swirling like a tempest, she felt the pulse of the shadows shift, an invitation or a curse. We don't have a choice now. The brightness of hope flickered like a dying ember, and they plunged into the abyss together, the darkness closing in fast around them. What awaited them in the depths below? Would light lead them to freedom or deeper into the clutches of despair? The real journey was just beginning. Isolde's stomach twisted as they fell, swallowed by the darkness. Time stretched, flickering like a broken light bulb, until an invisible force slammed against her, breaking her fall. She landed hard on cold, damp stone, gasping from the impact. Isolde, are you okay? The CEO's voice tore through the thick silence, grounding her in the moment. Yeah, I think so. She pushed herself up, her hands shaking. The air was thick with dampness, stale and heavy like an unspoken secret. Shadows coiled around them, tightening like a noose, but she could sense the remnants of her light, still flickering, creating a small bubble of safety. Where are we? He scanned the area, eyes wide, absorbing their new environment. The ceiling arched high above, lost in shadow. I don't know. Isolde's answer lingered as she took in the cracked walls, a creeping sense of dread creeping down her spine. The reflections of fading torches faintly illuminated grotesque carvings on the stone, depicting scenes of anguish and despair. What have we awakened? His whisper barely escaped his lips. Not just the shadows, but something deeper, something tied to my past. As the realization settled, a chill crept under her skin. Cyrus's name lingered in the air around them, a ghost whispering through the darkness. Suddenly, a spine-chilling laugh echoed from the depths. Welcome, both of you. The voice rolled over them like thunder, deep and mocking. Who's there? The CEO barked, pulling Isolde closer. His bravado was admirable, but Isolde could feel his tension, the way his body tensed against her. I am the essence of forgotten memories. A figure emerged, swirling in darkness yet vaguely human, its features constantly shifting like smoke. You're in the chamber of remnants, where lost souls linger. They feast on your regrets and desires. The creature's eyes locked onto her, an assertive gaze that made the ground beneath her tremble. Ah, Isolde. Your pain is exquisite. Cyrus never truly left, did he? He's as much a part of this realm as you are. No. Isolde shouted, clenching her fists. I want he let him take me again. Take? No, my dear. He's here because you are. The figure bloomed closer. It was almost comforting, but Isolde felt a wave of nausea. His essence weaves through your heart. You were never meant to forget. No. I've moved on. Her voice cracked, but the shadows murmured around her, their laughter a chorus of doubt. What if I never did? What if I'm just what? It teased, eyes narrowing, relishing her vulnerability. Afraid of the truth. The stones around them groaned as evil seemed to seep into the very air they breathed. The CEO tightened his grip around her wrist. Isolde, we have to face this. Whatever this is, we need to hold on to each other. With a surge of defiance, Isolde turned towards the entity. You don't own me. You don't control my past. She felt warmth from the CEO's presence, pulling strength from him, drawing on her determination. No. You can't fight what you are. The figure laughed again, and the shadows began to pulse wildly. You'll succumb to your own darkness soon enough. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from Isolde's chest, a beacon of resistance. With the CEO beside her, they pushed back against the figure, their fear and regret transforming into raw energy. The chamber shook violently, walls reverberating as they fought for their truth. Together, she shouted, drawing strength from the bond that had solidified between them amidst the chaos. It was an undeniable spark igniting their resolve. As powers collided and light pushed against the darkness, the embodiment of shadows screeched in agony. But shadows had depth, and the room darkened almost entirely, an overwhelming tide threatening to drown them. Isolde. The CEO's voice was strained. What if it's too late? As the darkness clawed at them, she couldn't help but wonder, was it truly the end? Or a chance to reclaim what she had lost? I refuse. Isolde's voice broke through her fear. This isn't the end. But even as her heart raced with hope, the shadows loomed larger, whispering sweet nothings of despair. What hidden truths lay beneath the surface? Would they rise victorious, or would the abyss claim them both? Only time would tell as they forged ahead into the depths of their darkest fears. Isolde felt the darkness closing in around them, pressing against her chest like a heavy weight. It was suffocating, and she fought for each breath, struggling to keep panic at bay. Cyrus, I'm not your puppet anymore. She yelled, her words echoing wildly in the chamber, but the laughter of the looming figure swelled, teasing her resolve. Oh, Isolde, you think willpower alone can cut the strings? How naive. It shifted closer, thick shadows swirling like the fog of her deepest fears. The CEO gripped her tighter, his breath quickening. Isolde, listen. Focus on the light inside you. We can't let this thing, whatever it is, consume us. His voice was a lifeline, a thread pulling her from the brink. Yes, Isolde shouted, feeding off his unyielding spirit. She closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning the warmth of the sun, the laughter with friends, and the love she still clung to. The figure began to flinch as her inner glow expanded, igniting against the shadows like a beacon. Hope surged within her, igniting embers of strength. Isolde, fight. The CEO urged, his voice a soft echo around them. The being recoiled, recognizing the threat of their combined light. You dare defy me? It bellowed, rage whipping through the cavern like a tempest. Both of you are still bound by your worst fears. Then, in that moment, Isolde realized. No, we're bound by our strength, by this connection. This isn't about fear, it's about acceptance. She opened her eyes, and the light exploded outward, shimmering brightly. It ignited the grotesque carvings lining the walls, illuminating the horror etched in stone. For every agony depicted, she saw the beauty of resilience. Each scream captured in the stone transformed into a whisper of encouragement ringing in her ears. The shadows writhed, howling in torment as Isolde and the CEO held hands tighter, their energy intertwining. It felt as if they were magnets, drawing from an unseen source. Together, she repeated, more forcefully now. Images flashed before her eyes: a family picnic, soft laughter, the first spark of romance with a glance, every precious memory filling her heart. Cyrus's ghostly presence tangled in those memories, but she wouldn't let him take the joy. Isolde stood strong, defiant in the face of her past. Let this end, she screamed, pouring all her grief, joy, and defiance into that singular moment. The chamber shook, dust raining down as the creature widened its maw in a final cry, claws stretching for them. But light pierced the darkness, blinding in its brightness. The shadows began to twist and shatter, fissures appearing in the air. Isolde felt unlike anything before. It was a surge of absolute liberation. With one final scream, the entity evaporated into nothingness, mere wisp of smoke against the brilliant light. Silence enveloped them, a heavy stillness that felt like waking from a nightmare. The chamber around them began to change, the dark stone peeling away, revealing walls adorned with vibrant colors, life, and warmth. What just happened? The CEO gasped, shock running through his voice. Isolde sank to her knees, disbelief coursing through her. We faced him. But I can still feel him. He has not gone. The ground trembled underfoot. It wasn't over. As if in response to her words, a distant rumble echoed through the chamber, followed by a spine-chilling whisper that sent chills racing down her spine. No, this is just the beginning. What new danger awaited them on the other side of the light? And what if Cyrus was only biding his time, lurking just out of sight? They had a fight ahead of them, but the battle for her heart and her past was far from over. Isolde's heart raced as the ground trembled beneath her. It was a deep, guttural sound, reverberating through her body like the ominous heartbeat of the chamber, reminding her that Cyrus was not defeated, he was regrouping. Her instincts flared as she tried to catch her breath, the taste of ash lingering in her lungs. We have to go. Now, she whispered, urgency slicing through the disbelief. The vibrant colors around them flickered, casting eerie shadows that looked like lurking figures behind every corner. The weight of their battle pressed heavily on her chest, Cyrus stood rigid, his sharp features illuminated by the pulsing light. Isolde, wait. What if there are more of them? His voice was a mix of fear and determination, and she could see him steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. I feel it, too, she replied, her voice trembling. Her hand pressed against the cool stone wall, searching for anything solid amid the madness. But we can't stay here. We need to find a way out, or we'll be trapped when he returns. Before Cyrus could respond, a howling wind swept through the chamber, swirling around them. Shadows stretched toward her, hungrily reaching as if they had a consciousness of their own. She took a step back, instinct kicking in, but there was nowhere to retreat. The light flickered and dimmed, as if responding to her growing fear. Isolde! Cyrus shouted, desperately pulling her closer. If you keep focusing on fear, that's what they will come for. Shift your thoughts. He gave her a fiery look, his eyes blazing with the resolve they needed. She shook her head, anger mixing with dread. You think it's easy? Every step I take feels like walking through a nightmare. You don't know what I've been through. The bitterness boiled inside her, each memory more painful than the last. Then turn them into strength, Cyrus replied, his tone softer now, but laced with urgency. Remember your joy, your light. Not just for you, but for us both. We can't do this alone. His words struck a chord deep within her, waking a flicker of hope in the midst of despair. Isolde closed her eyes, pulling those joyful memories from the depths of her mind, the pure laughter of her sister, the warm hugs of friends who stood by her, the tantalizing thrill of falling in love. Each moment wrapped around her like a protective shield. The cavern began to shift again, the ground trembling dangerously. The shadows trembled alongside them, twisting violently as if sensing the light she was conjuring. But it wasn't fast enough. Too soon, she heard a haunting laugh echo through the chamber, a sound that felt like ice threading through her veins. You think you can escape? Cyrus crooned, his voice transformed into a venomous hiss. The figure of Cyrus shimmered and flickered, blurring at the edges. You're still mine, Isolde. I will always be part of your shadows. A shiver snaked down her spine. No. I won't let you define me. Isolde. Cyrus reached for her, but she flinched back, breathing heavily, her pulse loud in her ears. She could feel the dark energy coiling around her like a serpent, a looming presence thrumming with malevolence. Don't let him in. But as she fought against the tide, the shadows clung tighter, suffocating her resolve. A cacophony of whispers filled the air, her insecurities, her doubts, all churning with Cyrus's twisted laughter. With grim determination, Isolde pushed through the waves of darkness, her own voice rising against the despair. I choose my light. I choose hope. In response, a blinding shaft of illumination broke through the last vestiges of dark, illuminating Cyrus's transformed face. For a split second, she could see terror twist within his expression, then an explosion shattered the shadows completely, leaving only a tangled darkness flickering on the edges of her vision. As the chaos stilled, silence fell, the tension dissipating into the corners of the now luminous chamber. But would it last? No. Deep within her, the dread churned back, gathering like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury. Isolde. Cyrus's voice was laced with uncertainty. What if this was just a taste of what is to come? She didn't know how to answer. A deepened unease pulsed in the air, as if the walls were breathing in tandem with her. This wasn't over. Not yet. She could still feel him. Cyrus's energy lurking just beyond sight, restlessly waiting for the moment to strike again. What would happen when the darkness returned? Would she find the strength to resist? Or would the fight for her freedom take a devastating turn? An oppressive silence enveloped the chamber, stretching like an unwelcome shroud, heavy and stifling. Isolde's heart thudded dully as she surveyed the aftermath of the blast. The walls glimmered eerily, reflecting the remnants of her earlier courage. Right now, the taste of ash in her mouth felt more bitter than ever. Isolde, we can't linger, Cyrus urged, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. He stepped beside her, his presence grounding her as much as it frightened her. We need to find a path away from here before it gathers itself again. She nodded, forcing herself to move, but her legs felt leaden. With every step she took, she sensed its Cyrus's essence lurking at the edge of her perception. The shadows never fully dissipated, they simply lurked, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Where do we even go? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder would summon the darkness back. Cyrus scanned their surroundings, the determination in his eyes battling his visible weariness. There must be an exit, somewhere close. We just have to find it before he realizes we're still here. They made their way through the chamber, Isolde conscious of every crack and crevice that could hide lurking dangers. The shadows danced around them again, flickering in the corners of her vision. It took everything she had to stifle the rising tide of panic. What if Cyrus was right? What if this was just a lull, a deceptive quiet before the true storm broke? Suddenly, a guttural roar surged from the far end of the chamber, rattling her bones. Isolde froze, fear flooding her veins. The sound bounced off the stone walls, echoing ominously as it clawed its way toward them. "We have to go," she screamed, her pulse quickening once more. They sprinted through the cavern, heartbeats pounding in time with their footfalls. Isolde could feel the darkness pressing closer, the shadows reaching out to ensnare them. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a glimmer of light flashed in front of her, a crack, just big enough for them to squeeze through. "There!" Cyrus shouted, pointing toward the fissure. But was it a way out, or a trap? Isolde hesitated. What if it leads to more danger? We could be walking right into his hand. Cyrus grabbed her arm, his grip intense but reassuring. Or it could be our only chance. We don't have a choice. His voice was sharp, edged with the urgency of a man who had faced darkness more than once. Torn between fear and the instinct to trust him, Isolde made a split-second decision. Then let us hope it's not a mistake. Without looking back, they crashed through the opening. The narrow space felt like a constricting fist as they traversed it, no time for second-guessing. The roar behind them intensified, vibrating the very walls of the passage as they pushed through. The shadows murmured words, indistinct yet pressing against her mind like a weight, threatening to pull her back into despair. As they emerged on the other side, the sudden burst of light nearly blinded them. Isolde stumbled but quickly righted herself, her breath quickening as she took in the new surroundings. "It's beautiful," she gasped, glancing around. Bright flowers erupted from the ground, and trees that sparkled under a warm sun surrounded them. But just as she let the warmth wash over her, a chilling laugh echoed from behind, slicing through the tranquility. "You think you can escape so easily?" The voice dripped with malice, echoing across the vibrant landscape. Isolde's heart sank. "You will always be mine, Isolde." "Run!" Cyrus shouted, but dread anchored her feet, a sudden realization crashing over her. No matter how far they ran, would Cyrus be able to protect her from the darkness that had entwined them both? With a shuddering breath, Isolde raced forward, but fear clung to her like a shadow in the light. Inside, she could feel the truth unfurling. They had not escaped. The battle was not over. What was the darkness waiting for? What would it take for them to finally break free? Her breath hitched as unease gnawed at her gut. Was this new realm genuinely a haven, or a cruel deception? Isolde's pulse quickened, each beat echoing like a drum of war. They fled the darkness, but its chilling voice still echoed in her mind, a taunting reminder of the fight they were losing. "Cyrus, we can't stop," she urged, pushing forward through the vibrant flowers, their fragrance sweet but mocking. Cyrus was at her side, determination carved into his features. "I won't let it take you. I promise." His fierce grip on her hand sent a surge of warmth through her, reminding her that this bond could withstand the shadows. But as they ran, an ominous rumble thrummed in the ground, and she sensed the dark tendrils creeping into this newfound light. "Where do we go?" she gasped, scanning the radiance for any hint of an escape. The beauty around them felt like a trap, the colors so bright they made her eyes ache. "We just need to find the source of this light," Cyrus said, redirecting their focus. "We can channel it, maybe use that magic against him." "Channel what?" she asked, the dread creeping back in as they turned into a patch thick with trees. The sunlight peeked through leaves, dappling the ground. It felt alluring, yet sinister. Shadows lingered everywhere, watching, waiting. "Isolde, remember what we fought against. Harness that. We need your strength." Cyrus's voice was a rallying cry, lifting her spirits, reminding her of the electricity she'd felt when they had faced the shadows together. Her heart fluttered, catching the memory of their bond blossoming like an iron fist. They picked up speed, the wind whipping by, but she could still hear the distant laughter haunting the air. "You want to take them, Isabel? You think I'll let you win?" "No," she shouted defiantly, and the call raced through her, triggering the flickering flame of magic within. And then, she saw at the heart of this paradise, a massive tree with thick roots sprawling across the ground like a powerful sentinel. It pulsed with energy, branches reaching toward the sun. Its trunk gleamed like silver, brilliant against the surrounding colors. It called to her. "Cyrus. That tree, it's the source. Then we fight right there," he said, gripping her hand tighter, determination flickering in his eyes. Together, they rushed toward the tree, every step resonating with fierce intensity. As they reached the base of the tree, a tremor ran through the ground. The dark voice clawed at her ears, a chilling whisper. "You think you can take the heart of my realm? You'll never be free." Cyrus stepped in front of her, his shoulders squared. "We will be free. You don't control our fate. What you feel is just an illusion, a trick." The voice rolled like thunder, shadows billowed from the edges of the grove, swirling ominously. They'd awoken something primal, and it was coming for them. Isolde planted her feet, digging deep into her emotions, her regret, her love, and everything she had lost. "You're wrong," she shouted, summoning the light from the tree, channeling warmth and power into an aura around them. "We are stronger than you think." With a fierce yell, she thrust her hands towards the trunk, drawing energy from the roots that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heart. The light radiated, merging with the magic swirling around, becoming a shield against the shadows that twisted menacingly. She felt Cyrus' energy merge with hers, grounding her as they faced the dark spirit together. In the dim glow, a figure slowly materialized from the shadows before them, a distorted reflection of Cyrus, eyes dark as endless night, lips curled in a sinister grin. "You really believe this will protect you? You don't know the depth of despair." Isolde took a breath, feeling Cyrus's presence beside her like a warm force. "I reject you. I will not let you haunt me." With the words echoing like a binding spell, she pressed her palms against the tree, pulling energy from deep within itself. The ground surged, trembling with the power only they could wield. The light exploded outward, illuminating the dark figure. Grotesque cries erupted, shadows recoiling in agony as they were torn apart. "No. I will not be banished." "The figure shrieked, its voice reverberating through the air, but Isolde held firm, pouring everything into that luminous light. Cyrus locked eyes with her, an unbreakable thread of connection forming between them. "Together, together," she echoed, and the brilliance intensified, turning the air solid, solidifying their resolve. The dark figure twisted, grasping at the light with expanded claws, shrieking and thrashing as the rays overpowered it. "Your pain cannot bind me," Isolde shouted again, reclaiming her strength and purpose. The shadows evaporated, weaving away like smoke, and as the light surged, the dark figure dissolved in a burst of energy. Isolde collapsed to her knees, panting, but the serenity of the vibrant grove settled around them. The whispers of the shadows faded, replaced by a palpable peace that enveloped her heart. Cyrus knelt beside her, their hands still joined. "We did it, Isolde. We faced it together. You are stronger than you believe." She could feel warmth pooling inside her, a sensation of release washing over her. "But it's not really over, is it?" "No," he replied, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "But whenever it comes back, we'll be ready." The sun dripped warmth over them, the once menacing shadows now simply faded remnants. Slowly, Isolde lifted her gaze, taking in the tree, its spirit still humming with life, resonating safety. "Then I'll keep fighting, as long as you're by my side." She smiled, a raw fire sparking in her heart. Because now, Isolde knew together, they were unstoppable. She reached for Cyrus, who held her with an unwavering grip, and together they stood under the radiant canopy, ready to face whatever destiny had in store. With a final exhale, they stepped forward into their new path, ready for the journey ahead. And now that you've reached the heart-pounding conclusion, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exciting adventures we have waiting for you. This is the moment to show your support. Go ahead and smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this amazing story alive. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about how Isolde and Cyrus will navigate the road ahead, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes our community stronger, so join us and let us keep the magic alive.